Hello, I am Moonstone, and welcome to Anime Review. This is going to be my fourth and final part of me reviewing Evangelion, with the fourth movie, Evangelion, Thrice Upon a Time. So the movie starts off, we see our four main pilots get rescued by one of Shinji's friends. It's years later now because of the time skip in movie 3. He's married, he has a kid now, and we finally see the world from the survivor's point of view. So these people, they're not with Nerve, they're not with Villa, they're not with the Avas, they're just trying to survive, and after what happened with the third impact, they're just trying to survive and rebuild a society. Rey, knowing that she's a clone, decides she doesn't want to be called Rey anymore, since that's not her. But she doesn't know what to call herself, so everyone starts calling her Rey's lookalike or just lookalike. We finally see that Asuka is wearing one of those collars, which makes Shinji have a PTSD moment. Shinji is still very shook up over what happened in the third movie, refusing to eat or do anything. He just kind of lays there and sits there and he's depressed. I mean, it got so bad to the point where Asuka actually had to force feed him to get him to eat. But lookalike, or Rey, Rey is adjusting well. She saw a dog for the first time, a cat for the first time, a baby for the first time. She even got a job with some sweet old ladies, which kind of reminds me of my first job, where I was also working with a bunch of sweet old ladies. We see that the whole village is surrounded by a force field to keep wanderers out. Wanderers are Avas. So after the third impact, all these abandoned Avas just started getting up and wandering around, even though they don't have a pilot. And that's all they do. I mean, they don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't drink, they just continuously move around like they're looking for something. Why is it doing that? Okay. Getting back to the village, lookalike decides that she wants to stay in the village. And no, it's not. She decided that she wants to stay in the village and that she wants Shinji to name her, since she can't think of a name. But before Shinji could name her, the collar that she was wearing explodes, but instead of red liquid, she has orange liquid. I assume it's because she's a clone. Shinji and Asuka go back to Villa. Asuka and Mari get new plug suits. Now they're white with red accents for Asuka, and then white with pink accents for Mari, that go rainbow when they shrink wrap on, which it actually looks really cool when they do that. And their mission is to get to Ava 13 and disable it. Asuka makes it to Ava 13, but isn't strong enough to do it alone, so she finally takes off her eye patch to reveal she still has an eye. That actually kind of surprised me. I really thought it was missing. But yeah, She still has an eye, but it's a brighter blue compared to her other one. And it's a brighter blue compared to the other one because there's angel essence inside, which they don't really go into detail to say what angel essence is, but there's angel essence inside her eye, and it turns her Ava into an angel, and she destroys Ava 13 in this form. But to do that, she had to become one with the Ava. So her and her Ava are now stuck together. Asuka is no longer human anymore. She's one with the Ava, who's now an angel. So that's confusing. Meanwhile, Misato meets with Shinji's dad and tries to pew him, and when she does, his sunglasses that he's been wearing this entire time fall off, revealing that where his eyes are supposed to be, he has one big red cyclops eye. Sort of. Oh, that's the best way I can explain it. Big red cyclops eye. He talks about the impacts. Doing that. Okay, that was scary. He talks about the impacts and why they happened. The second one was to purify the ocean. That's why the oceans were red. The third one was to purify the earth. And the fourth one that he wants to go off right now is going to purify the souls. I assume that means to get rid of all humans. So the angels can live here, kind of like what happened to the dinosaurs. The meteor hit the dinosaurs got wiped out. We can now live here, and now the angels want to wipe us out so they can live here instead. And I also assume that the first impact was when Adam and Lilith first came here, because he just started on the second one to purify the oceans. He never said what the first impact was supposed to do, so I assume that one was it. And also he does explain why the Avas are able to move without a pilot. The Wanderers from earlier, yeah. Okay, the reason why the Avas who are able to wander without a pilot is because Nerve was testing them by stuffing them with souls. So those Wanderers have sentience now, basically, except because they're just stuffed with souls. That's how they're able to move without a pilot, but they can't do much else. That's why they're just moving around with no purpose. Also, with Ava 13 now woken up, Shinji gets back into Ava 1 to stop 13. In a big Ava battle, Misato discovers that if one of the spears that Shinji and 13 are fighting with if the spears that Shinji and 13 are fighting each other with, if it breaks, then Shinji can't stop the fourth impact. So Team Villa gets to work on making a spear for Shinji. Meanwhile, Shinji gets through to his father, and his father is showing him Ava Imaginary, which looks super cool. So with the Ava Imaginary looks really cool because some shots you can see they use like a real human person, and in some shots it's CGI, and I really like the use of live action here because they used a real person and everything else is like, flat anime cartoon. It really contrasts from each other, really making it look like Ava Imaginary is like from another dimension or something. Like, it doesn't fit in here, it doesn't belong here, it's so weird against everything. and I really like how they did that. Like, it's so cool. We learned that Shinji's father did all this to try and get Shinji's mother back, and both the Rei clones and Eva Imaginary are in Shinji's mom's likeness, so they all look the same. Also, if Shinji was born a girl, his name would have been Rei, and that is actually how all those Rei clones got their name. Misato finally finishes the spear and pokes it right into Eva Imaginary's eye, and while doing this, a song was playing. I could have sworn it was that one Christmas song. I think it's called Joy to the World, because I couldn't hear the words, but I could hear the music to it. I couldn't really hear the words to it because we got, Shinji and Eva 13 battling each other, so there's Eva battling noises, Misato poking Imaginary in the eye, Shinji and his dad are talking over the music, so I kept trying to hear the song, but I couldn't. I kept trying to hear the song over all of that, but all I could really hear was the music, and I was really trying to figure out if it was that Christmas song. It wasn't, but it'd be really funny if it was. Anyway, this is where things get very weird because Shinji starts talking to Asuka, but Asuka became one with the Eva, remember? So she's not a human anymore, she's an angel, because there's a gnat in here. Her and the Eva fused together, and she used the angel essence in her eyes. So she's not a human anymore, she's an angel, basically. So this part, I think we're in Shinji's mindscape, in his brain. He's not actually talking to Asuka. He's in his own imagination, basically. We do get some backstory behind Asuka. We learned that Asuka was all alone as a child, and that's why she acts the way she does, because she's just looking for approval, even though she doesn't want to admit to it. Because she just wants praise from anyone, because she's used to always being by herself. And Shinji thanks her for liking him, basically, and being friends, I guess. Shinji talks to Raru for a bit about how Karu, that's how you pronounce it. It's typed up, I think, Karu. He talks to Karu a little bit about how Karu wanted Shinji's happiness, and finally Shinji gets to Rei, who now has super, super, super long hair and is holding a baby doll, which I think why she looks like this is because this is what she would have looked like if she was able to stay in the village. I think, I'm not sure, but I think that's why her hair is really long. That's the only reason why I can think of, because they wouldn't just do that for no reason. But anyway, he talks about wanting to recreate the world and have a world without Evas, calling it Genesis, which, as you know, is a callback to the 90s version of Evangelion Neon Genesis. And while he was talking about this to Rei, it looks like someone turned on a projector and they're talking while it's projecting on the wall over here. it starts playing Neon Genesis, which I actually found was like a really, really cool detail. And then we see Shinji's back in Eva, which just furthers my theory on that was all in his head and he wasn't actually talking. But yeah, while him and Ray were talking and Neon Genesis thing was going on, I thought they were gonna end it in a loop. Like he was gonna stop this monster and then he was gonna do something to make sure that Avas don't come back. But I don't know. I thought something was gonna happen and then it was just gonna restart. Like it's an endless story. That would have been very cool. But yeah, it was all in his head, and he was in Ava the whole time. He ends up defeating Ava 13 and Ava Imaginary, making all the Wanderer Avas crumble and their souls being set free. And with no more Avas or angels anymore, the world slowly goes back to normal. The ocean is blue again. We see Shinji and Mari as adults, and I think they're together, but I'm not quite sure. They don't outright say it, but I can't tell if they're just friends or if they're actually together. And that's the end of the 3-hour-long movie. Well, it's not actually 3 hours, it's 2 hours and 30 minutes, but yeah. It's the longest movie in the series, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the longest movies I've seen. But anyway, there's more to talk about on the movies. There's actually a theory going around that more movies are going to come out, according to the fandom. I haven't talked about this yet, but the titles of the 4 rebuild movies all have a set of numbers with them. Not Alone has 1.11. You Cannot Advance has 2.22 and 3.33 for the third movie. But the fourth movie you would assume would have 4.44. But no. Thrice Upon a Time instead has 3.0 plus 1.0 instead of 4.44 like you would assume, like the pattern. Because of this, people believe that there are going to be 3 endings to Evangelion. That's what the 3 is for. And that we're going backwards and that this was the 3rd ending. And that's why the number starts with 3.0 instead of 1.0. But as of now, in video time, there hasn't been any announcements or anything of other movies being made. Just that's it. I haven't found any confirmation that that's what's happening. That's just a theory in the fandom. And with that, I'm gonna end the video. Actually, no, I'm not. I have something to show you. I started reading it. I started reading Evangelion, and as of right now, I'm not too far in. Right now, it's playing just like the anime, but I am going to read it, and I probably am going to do a manga review and kind of compare and contrast to the rebuild movies and all that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye.